Howdy, folks. Spencer here, and today I want to talk to you about the stats of the upcoming Titan A. If you want to skip ahead, as always, there will be chapters listed down below for you. So, where exactly is this ship from? Well, the Titan A is also known by a few other names. It's known as the Connie 3, the Neo Constitution, or the very controversial Enterprise G. And the ship originates from season 3 of Star Trek Picard, where it was the primary hero ship for the majority of that season. Now, for availability here, this is a promotional tier ship, and a reminder that promotional tier ships are meant to be some of the best ships in the game, while also being some of the most expensive. And quite often, especially if you're opening the Infinity promo, R&D, or DOF packs, you can quite often be looking at $200 to $300 per Infinity promotional ship. So this is going to be a fairly expensive ship. They are apparently going to be permanently lowering the prices of the R&D and DOF packs moving forward. But even with the 20% price cut they're talking about, these things are still going to be quite costly. Now, if you have EC on hand, you're probably going to see a few of these pop up on the exchange for right up around the EC cap of 1.5 billion. And you might be able to get them via trade channels if they're not on the exchange, probably for anywhere ranging from 1.5 to 1.7. But if they're on the exchange at 1.5, then obviously go for that. And I should also mention, this is dropping on PC on Thursday, June 8th. I do not know when this is going to be arriving on console. And if you do not want to pay the very high fees that this ship is going to cost, then you should know that you will be able to get this free through the event campaign that starts up next year in 2024. So if you're wanting this ship, but you don't want to spend a ton for it, that will be an option in the future. But just note that the current event campaign that we are actively working on right now will not have this as a reward option. Now, for those of you that already have an Infinity promo pack sitting in your inventory, or the Infinity the ship pack here, the T6 promo ship choice pack will be automatically updated when the patch goes out this Thursday on the 8th to have the Titan as an option in the ship list here. So just keep that in mind if you have a T6 choice pack on you, that you can hang on to it and wait till the release here. On the customization side of things, the Titan A will not have a unique bridge. It cannot be kit bashed with any other Titan or Constitution class in the game. And it does have a transformation mode on the nacelles, where the Bassard collectors will open up while you're flying into Clicky from the console on the ship, which I can show you here real quick. So you see that the Bassard collectors there, however you pronounce it, those have opened up while flying in this wave. If I go back a little bit, you can see this in action. So you'll see that they open up when the console's activated and you're flying in it. So that's a neat little effect, but you have to be using the console that comes with the ship in order to have that effect for a brief period. So it's not going to be like that all the time. And when the console deactivates, they'll close again. And, before I dive into the stats of this, you guys can probably tell I'm very enthusiastic here. I am recording this at a fairly early time. It's 2 a.m. on the 7th. But my mood on this wouldn't change if I was recording this, middle of the day. And the big thing that I'm going to say here is a quote that I have said a few other times with various ship releases, and that is that ships that are iconic or that look good tend to have very poor stats or are subpar for what they're charging for it. While ships that look like trash will typically have some of the best stats you have ever seen. And this is no exception. So you can get an idea of where things are going here. So on the stream that they did where they showed the ship off, Jonathan stated that with this being a hero ship that had a lot of screen presence, they were quite forced to go in a specific direction with the ship as to how to build it out to make it so it was matching what you saw in the show. So they were fairly restricted with what they could do with the ship. They couldn't be very creative with it. Whereas with ships that have limited screen time and aren't as iconic, like the recent Gorn Raider, they have a lot more flexibility and can do some really creative things. But with a ship like the Titan, they don't have that luxury. So let's take a look at the ship stats here. For your promotional ship here, you are getting another Miracle Worker Cruiser. This one, however, does have a built-in battle cloak, so that makes it stand apart from the other 500 out there. This has a 4-4 weapon setup. It cannot equip dual cannons. It has no hangar bay. It has 4 device slots. It has 1 universal console that gets ramped up to 2 if you have this ship upgraded. You have 5 engineering consoles, which isn't that bad with the upcoming advanced engineering consoles that they're about to introduce. There's 2 science consoles, and then there's 4 tactical. So again, it's another 4-4 Miracle Worker Cruiser. Nothing really special there about that. For the bridge officer seating, we have a commander engineer with Miracle Worker, a lieutenant commander science with pilot, a lieutenant commander tac, a lieutenant universal, an ensign, and an ensign tac. So this is also a promotional tier ship that has a single universal seat. Fun fact, there are some C-Store ships that have launched this year that have more flexibility than this, even on the cruiser side of things. So I want to take a look now at some comparable ships here, and I'm going to be using Fluffle's sortable filterable ship list for this, which I'll have linked down below if you want to mess around with it. But the summary of the comparison is that this ship is very, very similar to both the legendary Excelsior and the legendary Sovereign. This one just happens to have a bit more of a science focus. And what that means is that most of the stats are basically going to be identical to those 2 legendary ships. This is just going to have a lower hull capacity with a little bit more shields to compensate. So let's take a look now at this comparison. So you see the Excelsior and the Sovereign are also both 4-4 Miracle Worker Cruisers. I expect the power bonuses, I think they said they were going to be split like 15-15. I think it's probably going to be weapons engines. That may be wrong. So you see all these ships, Commander Engineer with Miracle Worker, Lieutenant Commander TAC, and then the lower 3 seats is where they differ. Now, these all do have a a pilot secondary specialization seat on them. So the big thing here is that the Excelsior 2 does have a forced lieutenant commander engineer, whereas the Connie 3 here has a lieutenant commander science with its pilot seat. So that is the trade-off that you're having versus the Excelsior. However, the Excelsior has 2 universal seats, whereas this just has the 1. And the legendary Sovereign from the 10th bundle also just has the 1 universal seat. I think you guys can get the point of this, though. This ship is very similar. The devices are the exact same. The weapons configuration is the exact same. Even the console layout is the exact same between all three of these ships. The difference is this one gets that Lieutenant Commander Science, and it gets an innate battle cloak. Is that worth $200? That's up to you to decide. So I know it's not the most comprehensive comparison, but you know, you guys that have been around a while, I mean, this we're talking about a 4-4 American worker cruiser. Not really much to talk about here. So this ship does have some nice secondary items on it. We've got some new phasers here. Now, these new phaser beams are attached to the Titan. You can use them on any ship, but you will get them with the Titan for whatever character you claim the Titan on. So they are not account bound. They are character specific. If you want these on every character, then you need to shell out the like $200 this is going to cost you per character you want these beams on. You can equip 2 of these per ship. And these phaser narrow angle beam arrays, well, they actually have a smaller firing arc than traditional phasers have. The difference is that you are going to have a little bit more damage output from them compared to traditional beams. If you put the 2 that you can run in your forward weapon slots, you'll probably be fine, given that most people play with a forward focus. But if you put these in aft weapon slots, you're probably not going to get too much from them. Overall, I think it's a little bit weird, given how broadside the beam ray playstyle is. But they're trying new things, and again, if you have these up front, they'll probably be fine. For the console here, this is the bioelectrical wave capacitor. The passives on this are plus 19.9% Cat 1 energy damage, plus 39.9% bonus Cat 2 electrical damage, and plus 5 weapon subsystem power. So the passives might be interesting if you have like a Nadarian build or another build that has a lot of electrical stuff on it. You might want to consider picking this console up, but it's a pretty expensive console if you're just getting it for that. So if that's the only thing that interests you, then don't worry about it. For the clicky, this clicky will apply electrical damage to foes in a 140-degree aft cone of the effect. And again, this effect is what I showed at the beginning, where the Bassard collectors will open up for it. It's this wave that will just keep going, and if you are in the wave, it will give you a massive speed boost for you and your allies. It'll recharge your power levels quite quickly, and it'll do that for you and for your entire team that's in the effect of the wave. So not sure how practical this thing's going to be. It'll probably be a fun console, but I don't see it having a ton of practical use. For the Starship Trait, this is Thunder Run. This should have basically constant uptime if you're on a beam build, because it is triggered by Fire at Will, Beam Overload, and Cloak Ambush. And what this does is it gives you plus 20% Cat 2 for your beam weapons. It gives you a defense buff that will scale with your speed, and it will give you a threat gen buff if you have threatening stance turned on when this trait is activated. I don't think that this trait is that bad. The issue is that there's a lot of competition for trait slots, and even on a tank build, I just don't think you're going to have room for this. If it might be different if we had like 10 trait slots, but as is with the limitations we have, I just do not see this trait getting that much use. So who exactly is this ship for? And the big question here, is it worth $200? Well, I know it's not on the slide, but I've been doing this basically in one take. I don't think that this ship is good enough for me to spend a couple hours working on this video. It's not a bad ship. but really it's a promotional ship in name only. It just doesn't have the stats to really justify the price point that they're putting it at. Just 200 to 300 bucks for this thing is just absolutely ridiculous, and that's a per character cost. So it's really not worth it. None of the secondary items are looking like they're going to be super meta impactful. They might be fun to use, but they're not going to, be game changing. So I don't think it's worth it in that regard. So ultimately, for those of you, looking at the ship, I think that if you're a fan of the Titan A, I think you're going to get this ship regardless of whatever I say. Even though I don't think it's, worth the money, I think if you're a fan of this ship, you're going to get it regardless. So if you're a collector or just a fan of the ship, you're going to pick this up. If you're someone that wants a psi-oriented version of the legendary Excelsior or Sovereign and are willing to spend 200 to 300 bucks to get it, then here you go. And if you do have a use case for the secondary items on the ship, then that might be worth considering picking the ship up for. If not, now, then maybe as an event campaign option a year or two from now. So basically my closing thoughts at this point. I think I've said it. I've given a tone, I think, throughout this video that I think that this ship is a bit underwhelming, especially given that it's a promo ship and has that promo ship price. It just, I couldn't imagine spending, if this was in the C store for 30 bucks, I think there'd be a little bit of hesitation on picking it up compared to some of the other ships out there. And again, like I said in the comparison a couple minutes ago, it's very similar to some legendary ships, the legendary Excelsior and the legendary Sovereign. Now, both of those ships are in anniversary bundles, and for the cost of getting this Titan A on a single character, with the average cost for a promo ship being about 200 bucks, with the average cost being 200 bucks, that is enough money to get you the 10th pack, which is going to get you the legendary Sovereign along with 9 other legendary hero ships on account wide unlock, or the 11th bundle, which isn't as popular as the 10th, but that's still getting you 4 legendary ships, the legendary Excelsior, the Ambassador, the Vorcha, and the Bird of Prey, and then 2 T6 coupons along with some other fluff. Like, either of those anniversary bundles would be a better way to spend your money in this game than picking up this Titan A. Like, seriously, I would, even if you're not a fan of most of the contents of the 11th bundle, I would pick that up before I picked up this Titan A, because I just really do not see the value in the Titan A, especially given that it's a single character unlock ship. None of the secondary items here really look that appealing. I mean, they might be fun to mess with, like I was saying, but they're not looking like they're really going to change the meta in any way. There's the trait would be interesting if there was more trait slots, but there isn't. So even on the builds that you would want to use that on, you've got better traits already on and just don't have room for it. So, as I've been hinting at, I think that this is a very easy pass for many of you. And I know I've already done the comparison, but I do have a couple alternatives that I would like to recommend to all of you rather than the Constitution 3 here, because I just do not think it's good for this price point. At a budget level, the $30 Terran Lexington in the C store is a 4-4 Miracle Worker platform that has a hangar bay and has a baked-in phaser lance. Now, there's going to be pros and cons between these two ships. The Lexington, doesn't have the cloak like the Connie 3 has, but it has a Lieutenant Commander Universal seat, whereas the Connie 3 has a Lieutenant Universal seat. So this is a $30 C-Store ship that has a more flexible bridge officer layout than the Connie 3 here. And the Connie 3 does have that pilot seat, which does, have some value now that Pilot was revamped. But the Terran Lexington, $30, and that's an account-wide unlock for $30, so every character on your account can get it. That's a 4-4 layout. It does have a Lieutenant Intel seat on it, which is pretty good. It's got that hangar bay. It can run dual heavy cannons even, so I think, just looking at these two side by side, the Terran Lexington is going to be a ship with higher DPS potential even than the Connie 3 here. Now, if you're looking to spend a bit more money, the Excelsior 2 is a ship that I have recommended in the past. If you're wanting something for like phaser immersion, then that ship does have a phaser beam console on it that is really fun to use. And if you have a promotional ship choice pack on you and you're really looking for a Miracle Worker promo ship to pick up, then the D7 Miracle Worker flight deck carrier is a really good choice. The D7 Miracle Worker flight deck carrier also has a battle cloak. It has a 5-3 weapon setup rather than a 4-4. It has 2 hangar bays. It has the Ruin of Our Enemy Starship Trait on it, which is one of the core DPS traits right now. And it can slot up to 7 of those new advanced crafted consoles if you want to boost the pets really far, or if you want to use the energy boosting consoles that they're introducing here. So, I think with the advanced consoles coming in, that D7 looks mighty tempting. And I think that if you're sitting on a promo pack, unless you have to have the Titan, I think the D7 would be the D7 Miracle Worker flight deck carrier would be a much better pick over the Titan if you're looking to get something with a bit of value behind it out of your promo pack. So that's my recommendations. I know this video is not as polished as my traditional videos. I'm literally just doing this basically in one take because I just don't think the ship is good. I don't think you should buy it. I'm really disappointed in the stats of it. Um, I just wish they had done something better, given that it's a promotional tier ship. But it is 2 a.m. I am going to go to bed, so I'm going to get this rendered and uploaded for y'all, and hopefully you all enjoy. So again, thank you to all channel members and viewers for the continued support. I will be doing some streams on Thursday, and maybe Friday also. There will be a news video out Thursday, and I'll probably be doing a stream as soon as the server comes up to mess around with some of the new things. So if you're wanting to see the Titan in action, I've already got a box that I've been sitting on for a while for it, so I'm going to grab it even though I don't think it's worth it, just to collect it, basically. And just to see how the things actually perform for those of you that do actually want to buy it. So stay tuned for that, but again, it's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching, and good night.